This is Joe and Reid. I've been watching Joanne Reid's show since 2016. I'm a big fan of Joanne Reid, and I was a big fan of the Reid Out. Um, Saddened to see her no longer with MSNBC doing this show because she told the truth about Trump. She told the truth about Republicans. She just told the truth, period. And so, because of that, I want to shout Joy Reid out.
Happy Monday, everyone. And we begin tonight with what I think is the question. When you are in the midst of a crisis, and specifically a crisis of democracy, how do you resist? When fascism isn't just coming, it's already here. So what, if anything, can you do about it? Well, for one thing, you can try to learn from history, from what people in this situation in countries around the world and in America have done before. As my friend Rachel Maddow always says, history is here to help. America hasn't always been a free country for everyone, and we've had resistance movements from day one. From enslaved people fighting their captivity. Shout out to Harriet Tubman, who was a 92%er before 92%ing was cool. And even taking up arms during the Civil War. To the women's movement and the workers' rights movement and the Stonewall gay rights movement. They've all been versions of the fight to make this a free country for everyone and to have a true multiracial democracy. And that is history's most important lesson, right? That the most important thing, the first rule, is to fight back, to never stop resisting. Do not obey in advance, as Tim Snyder put it. Do not take the knee, to throw in a Game of Thrones reference. Even if it's scary or uncomfortable or inconvenient, just keep saying no or finding creative ways to say no in small ways and large. Medgar Evers said, do not shop where they will not employ you. Dr. King championed the Montgomery bus boycotts to become the leader of the civil rights movement. The labor rights movement shut down factories and hobbled industries to win the 40-hour work week that you enjoy right now, and more recently to ensure the right of workers to work from home during COVID. People have marched against the Vietnam War and the war in Iraq and against the decimation of Gaza using our tax dollars. You don't always win every battle, but the whole thing is about resisting. Last week, federal employees received an Orwellian email from the Office of Personnel Management, the government's HR department, following a tweet from their apparent real boss, the world's richest billionaire, Elon Musk, head of the fictional and Orwellian Department of Government Efficiency, stating that, consistent with President Trump's instructions, all federal employees will shortly receive an email requesting to understand what they got done last week. Failure to respond will be taken as a resignation. The email that followed literally had the same subject line, what did you do last week? And came from the Office of Personnel Management's new HR email address, but had no signature. Here's the full email. Please reply to this email with approximately 5 bullets of what you accomplished last week and CC your manager. Please do not send any classified information, links, or attachments. Deadline is this Monday at 11:59 p.m. EST. The Saturday email kicked off a flurry of, shall we say, varied responses from the various podcasters, reality show hosts, and semi-famous people who run the agencies in our trumped-out federal government. Some, including Kash Patel, who alarmingly enough runs the FBI, told their employees to hold off, given that, per his email, the FBI, through the Office of the Director, is in charge of all our review processes and will conduct reviews in accordance with FBI procedures. When and if further information is required, we will coordinate the responses. For now, please pause any responses. Others, like Robert F. Kennedy Jr., emailed his department that the OPM email was legitimate and instructed them to read and respond per the instructions by the Monday evening deadline. However, per Sam Stein of the Bulwark, one agency under HHS took the opposite stance. Matthew Memoli, the acting director of the National Institutes of Health, emailed his team to tell them to please hold on responding until receive further guidance. Sam Stein is also reporting that HHS is backtracking on the Elon email and saying not to respond. Employees at the Department of Justice and Department of Defense are also being told not to respond. And you thought your HR department was chaotic. In short, nobody really knows what to do. Just the usual Trump world reality show chaos. But the email presented Americans with one of the other really perfect responses to fascism: ridicule. Journalist Allison Gill from a Substack called The Breakdown posted some of the best fictional responses that appeared online in response to the question, what would you really like to say in your response? Some of the best included, number one, kept refreshing email to see if I was fired or placed on administrative leave. Number two, tried to concentrate over the sound of colleagues cleaning out their desks. Number three, accommodated the requests for access to classified data by big balls. Number four, had a scotch. Number five, researched countries I can relocate to. Another one said, drank an old-fashioned. Number two, took a nap. Number three, delighted coworkers with sarcasm. Number four, dropped a tray of chocolate-covered pretzels in the conference room before the town hall. Number five, put Black History Month stickers on bulletin board and gave out emotional support dumpster fires. And last but not least, number one, executed low productivity tasking. Number two, identified opportunities to transition to high productivity tasking. Number three, developed a plan for D.O.D to F off. Number four, all the Teams meetings. Number five, responded to meaningless emails about task execution. The point being, other than it being hilarious, that this regime that we find ourselves living under is producing massive chaos and trauma in the lives of federal workers and in the country. Just look at this latest round of protests at Tesla dealerships, at town halls. America is resisting in large ways and small. The Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts has seen a 50% drop in ticket sales. Drag queens are showing up to protest outside. America is saying no to Elon Musk running us. We do not want him in charge, period. And Donald Trump, the guy who handed his biggest donor the keys to the whole federal government for him to do whatever he pleases with it, is underwater in every single poll, from Gallup to the Washington Post to CNN to Reuters, you name it. Other than his MAGA cult, nobody wants this chaos and confusion. And it also raises the question of what is the actual waste, fraud, and abuse that Elon and friends are finding? So far, their claim of finding $55 billion in savings is backed by exactly zero facts. While they're threatening the future of Medicaid and food stamps for millions of Americans and even Social Security payments. While the only fraud seems to be Elon Musk, racking up new contracts with the federal government on the taxpayer dime while giving back zero savings from his Starlink, Tesla, and SpaceX deals with the Defense Department and other agencies. Sorry, why does he get to make more money while you and your community get less? And the only abuse that we're seeing is against the very federal workers in all 50 states who are being bullied by the 19-year-old Doge kids and told to justify their jobs by a guy who spends all day literally tweeting and waving a chainsaw around while wearing sunglasses indoors. Is this the efficient government that you voted for? Really? Because it all really just looks, to my mind, like a mess. And we're probably looking at a government shutdown next month, since the completely incompetent Republican Party has no idea how to run the government. And what that tells you is that even when Republicans claim that Trump has a mandate or that he's doing what the American people voted for, they are lying. Nobody voted for this. This is a mess, and not even a normal mess. It's a fascistic mess. And what you can do about it is what you're already doing. Just say no. Tonight on our final readout, we are going to talk about what people are actually doing to resist this and get some advice from some of our favorite friends on what more we can do. And that conversation is next. Happy Monday, everyone. And we begin tonight with what I think is the question. When you are in the midst of a crisis, and specifically a crisis of democracy, how do you resist? When fascism isn't just coming, it's already here. So what, if anything, can you do about it? Well, for one thing, you can try to learn from history, from what people in this situation in countries around the world and in America have done before. As my friend Rachel Maddow always says, history is here to help. America hasn't always been a free country for everyone, and we've had resistance movements from day one. From enslaved people fighting their captivity. Shout out to Harriet Tubman, who was a 92%er before 92%ing was cool. And even taking up arms during the Civil War. To the women's movement and the workers' rights movement and the Stonewall gay rights movement. They've all been versions of the fight to make this a free country for everyone and to have a true multiracial democracy. And that is history's most important lesson, right? That the most important thing, the first rule, is to fight back, to never stop resisting. Do not obey in advance, as Tim Snyder put it. Do not take the knee, to throw in a Game of Thrones